What unites people? Stories. There's nothing in the world more powerful than a good story.
Skywalker, Jedi Master.
Nothing can stop it.
What is it to be a hero? Look in the mirror and you'll know.
No enemy can defeat it.
The measure of a person, of a hero, is how well they succeed at being who they are.
The hero isn't someone who lives above us, keeping us safe. The hero is not a god or an idea.
Maybe he's not some sort of devil or Jesus character. Maybe he's just a guy trying to do the right thing.
A hero lives here, with us.
You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards. They will race behind you. They will stumble.
Why do we fall?
They will fall.
So that we can learn to pick ourselves up.
But in time, you will help them accomplish wonders.
What I do here at the radio station, I'm the assistant news director for the news program. So basically I help coordinate, train, and organize everyone who's producing stories, talk shows, news coverage for the radio station, which is part of what provides us the non-commercial radio station licensing with the FCC. I never thought I was going to do radio. To be honest, as a freshman, I was coming into journalism to study for print journalism. So the goal was like to write for the New York Times or something like that. And there was something beautiful about the way that, like, as a journalist, it is your responsibility to tell other people's stories. And as a writer, you get to do it in such a more context-based, long piece kind of story. But there's something beautiful with radio about giving people a microphone and having their own voices being uplifted. Right there, just like, I think there's something with radio that you cannot always like get in paper. Like that little excitement when you are talking about something you're super passionate about, or that little crack when you're talking about something that really affected you. And so those voices and have the people tell their own stories instead of just me telling them was something that I really learned to love. People don't tend to know this, but radio is probably one of the most rebellious media outlet mediums in the world, really. Radio is a lot more mobile, it's a lot more, there's not as much of the pressures that there is to be on camera, or for the writing to be judged in the way that, like, different styles, different languages, and so radio has allowed for many movements to begin. And so radio has always been kind of this revolutionary outlet that I've learned. I personally someone who values social activism a lot, whether that's through the press, through artistic methodologies, through protesting directly. I appreciate that a lot because I think as people, you know, we blame society, but we are society. And so if there's something that bothers you, you should do something about it. And so radio really came to be in my head like that outlet to uplift people's voices, especially voices that were marginalized. I'm a huge geek girly, so I love superheroes. I love the way that comics were created. Fun fact, if you do not know, comics were created for social activism. The X-Men were like one of the first metaphors to deal with racism and discrimination. And so I do love comics. I think my favorite superhero, like, it wouldn't be just one, it would be the Team, the Teen Titans 2003 show and the original comics that came out from them. For many reasons, that I think the characters are very layered, and every person who looks at these superheroes, especially because they're teenagers, and so, you know, they're very human in their emotions and their experiences throughout the comic, which is something that I think is very, very nice because they make them very reliable to how we feel, but also the metaphors that they represent. You know, we have Starfire and Raven, and so Starfire, you cannot change my mind, that woman is a metaphor for what being an immigrant is. And so when I came to the United States, it was something that hit really close to home because she's this beautiful and powerful woman who's strong, and she's a warrior princess, so, you know, crazy vibes, but she is this person who doesn't understand our English expressions, has multiple clashes during the comics, during the shows, is a lot more physically affectionate than some of the other characters in the story. Her emotions are a lot more explosive. She is this, she has trouble speaking with the normal English, she has trouble understanding expressions and costumes, and still she's that character that you cannot help but love. And you cannot help but want to teach about this new culture and learn about hers. And so I love that part of her. But in the same side, we have Raven. And so women historically have been put against each other so much that having these two contrasting, powerful, strong women was such a nice thing to have in the comics. Because you have Starfire, who's super affectionate, super feminine, super explosive with her feelings. And then we have Raven, who is a little bit of the opposite, is a little more tomboy, a little more masculine, I guess you could say, a lot more quiet and reserved with her feelings, wants to keep them under control. There's a couple comics that you could argue she struggles with mental health and struggles with depression and anxiety, which I think is an important representation to have. So we have these two girls, and their powers are tied to those aspects of their personalities. And so we learn to see these two women figures work together and uplift each other, and to see how much they loved and support each other throughout the comics and kind of the show. I mean, like this, they are family, and they could not be more different from each other. And so they are my favorite people, my favorite superheroes.
My name's Lori Emerson, and I direct the Media Archaeology Lab. The Media Archaeology Lab is not a museum. It's supposed to be a place where you can have hands-on access to technology from the late 19th century through the present moment. And it's really meant as a place for everyone. We try to make it really accessible and welcoming, and we have no expectation of anyone having any kind of technological expertise. So we have artists coming in to make things. We've got students, high school students, undergrads, grads. We've got faculty and members of the public coming and going all the time, just playing with things, making things, repairing things. It started as a very modest idea in 2009. I had, and I still do have, a great fondness for an experimental Canadian poet named B.P. Nicol. And he made one of the first kinetic digital poems called First Screening. And at that time, you could only access First Screening through an emulated version of it, which was a YouTube video. And so I thought it would be neat if we got like 15 Apple IIe computers, which are all from like 1982, 83, and copies of the poem on 5 1/4 inch floppies, and bring my undergrad students into the lab and just experience what it would have been like to both make that poem, program that poem, and also interact with it using the original hardware and software that it was made for. Yeah, and then just over time, the lab kind of took on a life of its own, and I feel like increasingly my job is to listen to how the MAL wants to change and evolve. And so it's really less about me having a particular vision and more about us making the lab open to other people and letting people come in and take on whatever projects they want in the lab. I think one of the things that are important to both Libby and I is giving people opportunities for joy, believe it or not. So sense of joy and playfulness around technology, and related to that too, giving people opportunities to explore what was in the past as a way to reimagine what could be possible in the future. So I feel very strongly that computers, for example, now are all black boxed, sealed. You can't repair them. They don't last very long. They contribute to the ongoing ecological disaster. But in the Media Archaeology Lab, we have computers that are, 40 years old, and they still work fine. The thing is, they just may not allow you to produce as efficiently and quickly as possible. But I think part of what we're trying to do is give people the opportunity to think, like, what are the other criteria for progress that don't involve efficiency and productivity? What are some different ways of experiencing time and the world with computers that aren't all about contributing to late capitalism? I don't generally have people as heroes. I have ideas or concepts or values as heroes. And I've thought about this for a long time about why I don't have people as heroes. And it's nothing personal against people. It just seems to be the way I operate. So yeah, ideals like fairness, equity, justice, kindness, compassion, yeah, those sorts of things. I think Libby and I both try to put those values to work in the way the lab functions on an everyday basis. So the fact that the lab tries to be open to absolutely everybody, no matter what, is really important to us. The ways in which Libby works with these high school students also as a way to give them a welcoming, warm environment to hopefully thrive in. And just like general accessibility, we really, neither one of us are interested in maintaining like an aura of expertise. We're all about trying to make knowledge available to everybody and to try to empower people.